Hey everyone, May 1st, 2021, another update video. This video is just basically going to be boot cowl to nose bowl and everything I've done so far. So, go ahead and jump in. Essentially, as far as firewall forward, I ordered the Titan firewall forward minus the top and bottom cowl pieces, obviously because I'm building my own cowl. This is a light combing / Titan firewall. It comes in pieces and you have to assemble it. The engine mount is a light combing conical engine mount, and the boot cowl is standard Titan / light combing boot cowl. This one is carbon fiber. I went with a boot cowl because I was concerned that if I were going to try and make my own, the pieces that I would use off of what would be a pacer, the contours wouldn't correctly jive with the windscreen. And so I just elected to get a boot cowl, and on top of that I went with the carbon fiber to save weight. And I'm very, very impressed with the carbon fiber from Kitfox. So Brandon, doing a good job. Anybody on the fence about carbon fiber, I highly suggest it. This thing weighs maybe a couple pounds. It's substantial weight savings compared to the fiberglass. So go ahead and get into how I constructed this nose bowl and a few other things. Starting with the nose bowl, most of you already know it's Carbon Concepts. It's carbon fiber P18 nose bowl. I went with the non-oil cooler. Sometimes there's an oil cooler here. My oil cooler is going to be in the back. Essentially, Super Cub cowls are almost all identical. You have 4 support brackets, 2 on each side, and basically you put your nose bowl up, you set your depth with your flywheel, and then you start getting your measurements for your brackets. Once you got your brackets kind of mocked up, you basically drill and countersink and then dimple die the bracket, countersunk bolt, wide area washer, just due to the composite of the nose bowl, just more of a reinforcement for the vibrations in this thing hanging out off these brackets. Bracket itself is 032 chromoly. Basically I just cut 2-inch sections, left 1-inch center and then 1/2 inch on either side. And there's 4 of those. Pretty sturdy so far. The counter sunk bolts are so that when you put your skins on, the skins just go right over top and everything's nice and flush fit. The bottom is 032. The sides are going to be 025. I have 025 over here. And I had a bracket around here somewhere. Anyways, here it is. So normally on Piper boot cowls, these are already installed. And there's 2 bolts. There's 1 right now, and the second one I have a pilot hole. And there's 4 of these, so 2 on top, 2 on bottom. The bottom ones I kind of had to make myself because the original ones, the angle isn't even close, just due to the nature of Kitfox and the size of the fuselage and shape and everything. And then on the back side, there's another bracket that basically butts up against this on the other side of the firewall, has the 2 bolts that go through, and then 2 bolts that go through here that end up going through the boot cowl itself. Normally, like I said, those are installed if you buy a Piper nose or a Piper boot cowl, but I kind of had to make these things work. These are not installed on the back side yet. I'm not even sure I'm going to need them as much as this thing is locked in. Time will tell after I get all my skins locked down. The firewall is obviously stainless. It's not like a Rotax firewall. It's many pieces that you end up drilling and riveting together with stainless rivets. A lot of rivets. I think I went through like 8 drill bits in order to make all this work. And then in between all the crevices and cracks, there's high temp RTV. Coming over here. On top of the 4 support brackets, there's 2 secondary brackets that go from the engine mount down to the lower support bracket. Generally, the Piper mounts are what looks like a hose clamp, and then it's got a tab that comes off, so you twist it until it's nice and tight, and then it's got a hole in it, and then you run this support bracket through and fasten down here. The carburetor, I believe, is off a C90. It needed to be rebuilt. My friend who built the Cubs gave it to me, so I overhauled it, put new bushings on either side, knocked all the braze off the rod and the flap, and then pulled the rod out and rebrazed everything and put it back together. So I basically overhauled the air box and then threw a nice coat of paint on there. The exhaust, I was gonna go with this exhaust. It's a standard Cub exhaust with an Atlee Dodge hot rod muffler. It's heavy, it's prone to cracking, and it takes up a lot of space in your cowl, which we don't have as far as Lycoming guys and Kitfoxes. It normally would come right around here or on the backside. It does clear the engine mount, but it doesn't clear the footwells. And I was gonna originally modify the footwells to make the exhaust work, and then all of a sudden I had a moment of clarity and friends told me not to do it. So Creighton King from Grip Lock Ties sent me this Pitts style exhaust. It's very simple and lightweight. It's just basically headers, straight pipe right out the bottom. And it's originally it would come and they'd come down like this. If you ever look like on a Pitts, they kind of come together. I'm gonna make new tips and make them come out more parallel. And then I'm gonna have dual cabin heaters. So there'll be 2 canisters or heat exchangers. And then the inlets for those will be in the high pressure slipstream. So it'll have forced air going up through the heat exchanger, and then one will go up in the co-pilot side, and then the other one will go up in the pilot side. Carb heat, which attaches down here. Just gonna have a regular tube coming up, and it's just gonna be a clamp style that pulls off of some place where I can get a straight run for it to clamp to. And then so when I switch to carb heat, it's just gonna draw the air around and I'll have my carb heat. The engine mount is a conical engine mount, it's not dynafocal. So the bolts are parallel to each other. Benefits of conical mount are it's lighter than a dynafocal just because it doesn't have that huge ring and then the big puck mounts essentially. The drawbacks is it transfers more vibration from the engine to the airframe. So pros and cons. Generally the Continental Titans, I'm nearly positive almost all of them are dynafocal nowadays. The old ECI Titans have conical mounts. I know this because same friend who gave me the carburetor airbox put an ECI Titan in the Super Cub. The mount itself is an 0235 mount. The Lycoming is pretty much all the same when it comes to the engine mount location. So whether it be a 235, 290, 320, 360, they're all the same as far as the mounting locations. You notice the hardware, I have nylocks on here. Those are gonna get switched out. You don't want any nylocks in your engine compartment, period. So they'll either be the metal locking nuts or castellated with cotter pins. Just basically whatever I can find first, essentially. As far as the boot cowl and mounting it, I set the boot cowl forward a little bit. Generally, in the instructions, this lip is supposed to be even with the lower portion here. I did install the windscreen to ensure that the extra angle would work and that it would line up with the, we'll call it the A pillar here. Everything works fine, no issues. I have never done this on this type of boot cowl, so I'm not sure if I need to trim this down. We'll see. Now, as far as the cowl itself, there's 4 pieces. You saw the bottom piece. There's a top rectangle piece and there's 2 doors. The rectangle piece sits on top of piano hinge, and then those will have 1/4 turn fasteners going through, and then the door will attach to that piano hinge and come around, and then there'll also be 1/4 turns down here in between these clecos. So the door will actually fasten down here. And then I'll have 1/4 turns coming along here and up along here. So what you see now is what you'll see when you undo the door and flip it up. So you have all that access to all of your stuff. Originally, I was gonna do a traditional Cub style where it came out 3 inches and then came in, but this thing's already wide enough, and I kind of wanted to make it a little bit more, I don't know, I guess you can't call it sleek, but just more refined, I guess. So the door is gonna actually attach all the way down, and the benefit of this is it's gonna really lock in this nose bowl. The more fastening points you have, just the more sturdy this nose bowl is going to be. It's already really sturdy, but it's just going to get even better the more fasteners I install. As far as the boot cowl attached to the firewall piece here, 3-inch spacing with Tinnermans and just standard PK screws going through there. I just have them every other right now. You can see the holes. And then just attached number 40 clecos there as well. It's gonna have a Kato prop on it, most likely an 82-37 to 82-41. Kind of just depends on what I can get my hands on at the time. It's a big prop for this airplane, so should be interesting. I want well-rounded. I'm not building this airplane for a STi competition. This is general purpose all around. I'd like to cruise at 110. The factory Kitfox with the Titan pitched, I don't know what he was pitched at, but he said he was cruising around 110, 115, and if you poured the coals on, he could hit 120, but you know, your fuel consumption goes up. So I wouldn't mind giving up 50 feet on the ground to have a good cruise. What else? I did pull this thing out today and just believing all the nonsense and the naysayers as far as on the forum saying that this engine's much too heavy for the airframe. I had somebody holding the tail down while I swung the other wing out. As the center of gravity came forward and that wing swung out, I was afraid that the thing was going to tip forward and endo on the nose and crush the nose, and well, that wasn't the case at all. Swung the wing out, it sat there by itself. I then leveled the fuselage and weighed the tail, and the tail as it sits is 40.1 pounds, which is good news because I don't have the battery in it, I don't have ELT, I don't even have the flaperons on yet, I don't have the seat belts. All that weight is aft the datum, so it's just gonna get better as I add more stuff. It's way more well balanced than I ever had hoped for. I thought that as soon as I swung that wing out, this thing was just gonna be, you know, 5-10 pounds in that tail wheel, and I was gonna have to really work to get this thing balanced out. And that's not the case at all. So I'm actually really excited about that. I'm shooting for 55 to 60 pound tail. And I think I'll probably be around 450 on the mains, give or take. It's still going to be super lightweight. The panel, I'm not going to do an engine management system or engine information system like I originally planned. It's just going to be Garmin G5, a tachometer, airspeed, oil pressure, oil temp, and amp meter, and then an iPad with ForeFlight Bluetooth to my GTR 200. I think you can do it. I think you can Bluetooth the GTR to ForeFlight, but we'll see. I want to set this up. Well, first of all, there's some confusion as of late of what the forward CG is supposed to be of the Model 7, and I can show you. If you look there, this is for a Model 5 and 6. So this is the calculator that most people are pulling up and using, and the calculator still works great. But as far as the forward CG, it does not apply to a Model 7. As you see here, it shows with no wing sweep, the forward CG is supposed to be 11.37. That is not correct for Model 7. Model 7s, no wing sweep and 1 degree, are both 9.5, and I've confirmed that with the factory. And that's a big deal for me because I have a heavier install up front. So that means it's not critical, but it helps me start to plan where I'm gonna put all my stuff. And unloaded, empty weight, ready to fly, I want it to be right at 9.5. So that when I get it with fuel, I'm right at about 10.5 to 11. And with cargo in the back, I have room to spare in the rear. So I'm not leaving anything on the table whatsoever. And that was my intent from the get-go. Gonna be getting new tires this weekend at the Airman show. They have 20% off on their bush wheels for their blems. And if anybody's seen their blems, it's basically a brand new tire. Nothing structurally wrong with it. It's just they can't sell them for full price due to whatever reason. They're overall grading, I guess you could say. You guys know what I'm trying to say. It's late. But yeah, some of y'all might have seen pictures I posted. This Piper nose I'm really excited about how it's starting to come together, and it looks like it's meant to be. It's kind of cool. 0320 I thought was gonna be a monster in there. It's not. I mean, it looked huge on the stand, and then you get in the airplane and it looks like it's meant to be there. Now, as far as weight of this engine versus a Titan, they're very comparable. You get on the Titan website and they're talking, I think the lightest they said was 268. Where they're shaving their weight is the Lightspeed ignition. And it's kind of a interesting topic. So I'm still gonna run mags on this thing, and I only have to run one small battery. The thing about electronic ignitions that don't have their own power, like a E-mag or a P-mag, whatever they're called, you have to run redundant electrical systems in order to operate the thing safely. So that's great. You have a nice light engine with digital electronic ignition, but you also are running 2 batteries. So you pick up that weight somewhere else. Granted, it's in the aft of the tail, or you could just live dangerously and send it and just run one battery, but that battery conks out, then that big fan on the front stops. So some other things. This is going to get replaced, like I said, 90 degree screw-on air oil filter. And as far as electronics are concerned, or as far as wiring, The only wiring that's going to be in this aircraft are wingtip lights, tail light, master switch, mags, landing lights, power to the G5, the GTR, and I'll work the iPad power in on one of those, most likely the radio. But other than that, it's coming together. Should be flying in a couple months. It's depending on whether or not I can sell my Cessna and really finish this thing out. But the big purchases left are prop, tires. The G5 is going to come out of the Cessna, so I don't have to purchase that. The gauges, round gauges, you know, $700-800 all in all if I buy new. And that's about it. Pretty excited. So if anybody has any questions about how Piper cowls go together, there's tons of information on how to put them together. You know, I'm not really reinventing the wheel. I'm just kind of making two different ideas work together, and it's working great so far. So that's all I got, guys. Hopefully next update I'll have cowls completely done, maybe a prop. Interior I'm gonna start working on, and then a little bit of wiring, and that's it. She'll be ready to go. Super simple. So catch you guys next time.